All right, very good, folks. Let's do one more thing with this core mapping platform, and that is, let's go ahead and add data. Okay, so I'm going to change the base map in your map to something like, I don't know, terrain with labels or something like that that's not a satellite image. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit to see some terrain. There we go. Excellent. Okay, I'm also going to turn off the campus veg mapping survey. So all I have now is a base map turned on, correct? Terrain with labels, for example. Great. So let's say you're teaching about landforms and river systems. Okay, great. What if I want to teach about, hey, the fact that you're in a very unique part of the world? You've got an international border, you've got critical water issues, and so I want the students to look at terrain and where the rivers flow. Maybe that's my objective for a lesson. Well, sure, I've got some rivers on here, but wouldn't it be great if I had like a scalable river map of the world? So yes, remember, this is a platform and you have access to thousands and thousands of map layers in here. So if you use the Add button to the upper left of the map, let's go ahead and search for layers. Search for layers, okay? Add, search for layers. And when you're searching, it defaults to My Content. So go ahead and add, search for layers, and search in ArcGIS Online. So add, search for layers, search in ArcGIS Online. What do I want to find? Well, if this is my river lesson, I'm going to search for something called ESRI World Hydro. ESRI World Hydro. ESRI World Hydro. So add, search for layers, search in ArcGIS Online for ESRI World Hydro. The very first thing that comes up is the ESRI Hydro Reference Overlay. I know that's a big mouthful, but ESRI Hydro Reference Overlay. And it gives you a little bit of information about that. If I click on there, it says, hey, it's designed to be used with the World Terrain Base. It shows surface water flow, blah, 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 etc. This is how it was created, and so on and so forth.
Dr. K?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that there are a few folks lost here because they are not logged in.
You don't have to be logged in, but you do have to modify map in the upper right to see the Add button.
Let's see. Okay, that's the option that you used.
Yeah, modify map and then add.
Okay.
Yep, so if you're not logged in, you just need to modify map first and then add.
Right, yeah. So I think that is the step we're somewhere behind.
No worries. So folks, once you modify map, go ahead and hit add, and then search for layers, and you're going to search in ArcGIS Online, and you're going to search for this layer called the ESRI World Hydro, ESRI World and Hydro. So ESRI World Hydro, and you see a little bit of, again, metadata about the layer. It's important to, again, know where the data is coming from and what it is. So it gives you a little bit of summary there. And then I'm just going to add it to my map. So the ESRI Hydro Reference Overlay is what I'm going to add to my map. And now I'm going to say, oh gosh, look, I've got a very nice hydro map. Look at this. This is just fascinating. So ESRI World Hydro. What do you folks think of this? If you zoom out a little bit, you've got a scalable rivers map of the world. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, you know, Joseph, I don't care about rivers. Well, search for something else then. But the idea is, this is just an example of the content that you've got at your fingertips now. So if I zoom out, I just see major rivers of North America. I see Rio Grande, Rio Conchos, the Colorado, North Platte, etc. I just see major rivers. All good? If I pan down to South America, wow, I've got the Amazon, and I've got all the tributaries coming into the Amazon. Nice. Now, the really cool thing, I think, folks, is that this is scalable. So as you zoom in, you're going to see more detail. Okay? So there's a couple ways to zoom in. As you know, there's a plus and a minus key in the upper left of the map. And there's also, if you've got a touchpad or a mouse, you can go ahead and do this. You can draw a box with your touchpad or your mouse. And see how I've drawn a box right here on the screen? So I've basically dragged my mouse or my touchpad across the screen with the shift key. So shift drag, and when I let go, my map is going to be zoomed in exactly to that box that I've got drawn on my screen. So that's a kind of a fast, handy way to zoom in to a specific area on the map if you want to use that method. Shift, drag a box. Okay, I'm going to let go, and now I've got, ooh, I've got additional detail here now. Very nice. So some folks say, hey, you know what? I just want to use a customized map, and all I want to have on it is rivers and terrain, because I want the students to understand what direction rivers flow and why it actually matters. So now you've got exactly that. You've got rivers, major rivers, and as you zoom in, you see little tributaries. But you also have something else that's really interesting. What are these dashed or dotted lines? What are these dotted lines on the map? You've got some rivers in blue. What are those dotted brown lines?
Watershed lines?
Oh, you folks are so good. Exactly. They're the watershed lines. So if you pan up to Colorado and northern New Mexico, you see this huge area that is the watershed for the Rio Grande, right? Yeah. And as you zoom in to a place like your part of the world, you start seeing the sub-watershed boundaries. Ah, you could even click in there and find out more detail. Oh gosh. So the point is, I've got some educators come to me and say, Joseph, if I could just have the students understand the relationship between rivers and watersheds, I'd be happy. So this is an example of, okay, you've got a world hydro layer at your fingertips with the watershed boundaries in them. And now you can see all the area that actually drains into the Rio Grande. Very cool. How are you folks doing? So you've added a layer and you're starting to look at it. You're starting to examine it. All right, let's add one more layer, and this time it's going to be more of on the cultural geography side of things rather than on the physical geography, biology side of things. Does that sound good? All right. And some of you may be experimenting with the add button. Lots of content there. More is not always better. So I wanted to say that. Just because you have thousands of layers doesn't mean you need to use thousands of layers in each one of your lessons. So for example, that world time zones, it was pretty simple. All it had was time zones and world country boundaries, and that was about it. In this case, we've got a map that you started with the vegetation mapping. We've added a layer to it. We've added the hydrography, the rivers to it. But let's add one more thing that hopefully will get you interested in, oh wow, there's lots of things you can do here. I'm going to add one more thing. So the add button on the upper left, and I'm going to add layer,
They should be.
Search for layers. And this time in ArcGIS Online, once again, let's search for USA median age. Median age. USA median age. So add, search for layers, search in ArcGIS Online, and search for USA median age.
So maybe just
Add, yep. Add, search for layers, search in ArcGIS Online, and search for USA median age. Once you do that, you'll have several median ages to pick from. I really like that fourth one down there. It's from Atlas Publisher. It's the one from Atlas Publisher. That's a person that a group that we work with to publish content for the lessons that you've been using, like in the geo inquiries. So I'm going to add layer from ArcGIS Online and add the USA median age from Atlas Publisher. Great. So once I've done that, it's going to be very similar to what you saw with the hydro. Go ahead and pull up that legend so you know what you're looking at. Ah, so now you've got median age on there. Now, who cares about median age? Again, think about what's where, why is it there, and why should we care? So if I zoom out, if I click on New Mexico, now this is only USA, right? So we're not looking at Mexico here, but some layers are USA, some are the whole world, some are specific countries. So I see a legend, if you pull up the legend there, you'll see that bluish is older, red is younger, and sort of the tan color is in the middle. So now you math teachers, you might do a little poll of your classroom, or any of you teachers out there. Okay, what's a median? Let's conduct a poll of our classroom. What is the median age of our classroom? Maybe everybody there is 13 years old, and then you as a teacher, let's say you're 25. Okay, so you're going to pull up the median age a little bit. So you're calculating the median age for your classroom, and now by extension, we're going to look at whole states and whole counties.
But that's the legend for that.
Yep, so you've got the legend there. It looks like, as you can see, Texas is a little younger than New Mexico, at least as of the time that this data was created, which is 2016, I believe. Yep. So why is that? And why do certain states have older populations versus younger populations? If I zoom in just a little bit more, and then maybe I do a search on New Mexico, you see where I'm going with this, right, folks? Look, you've got different counties. And again, you might have to have your students think about levels of geography, right? States, countries, counties, census tracts, block groups, neighborhoods, zip codes. So as I look at New Mexico, look, your Doña Ana County and El Paso, they're a little bit younger than other parts of the state, correct? Right? So if you zoom in a little bit, as I've got right here, your part of the state is a little bit younger. And same thing with the eastern part over by Roswell and east of Roswell and the Llano Estacado. It's a little bit younger also. So you could bring in reasons why. What pulls up a median age and what pulls down a median age? Yep, universities tend to pull down the median age, right? Immigration tends to pull it down. What pulls it up? Retirement. People moving out when they graduate from high school and go to university somewhere else, leaving the older, the parents behind. That tends to pull up the median age. So lots of factors, international and national, affecting a median age at a state level. But look, just north of Las Cruces, it's a little bit older yet, like around Truth or Consequences, right in there. Look how old it is in there. It's like 50-something is the median age. Are there a lot of retirees over there, maybe? I don't know. Really interesting. As we zoom in a bit, now you're going to start seeing, at the neighborhood level, I see some really interesting patterns here too. Fascinating. As expected, Central Las Cruces is a lot younger, right? If you start looking in those, if you click in some of those neighborhood block groups, you're going to see median ages of like 19, 20, and 21. Why is that? Why is it so young there? Okay, you've got the county college and you've got NMSU. So that makes sense. But out toward the east, it's a little bit older. Same thing to the west. So the surrounding community is a little bit older than the central part of Las Cruces. Very cool. And then you get really close to where you folks are sitting right now in that classroom and take a look at the median age. Yep. Really interesting stuff. So you're a lot younger, right, in your part of the world than some other neighborhoods in different places. Yep, and I'm going to change my base map to terrain with labels and make sure I'm seeing some features come through here. Another thing you can do is under median age, you can actually make it semi-transparent. So there's a little transparency tool as I'm doing right here. Now I can see a little bit more of the terrain underneath. Very nice. So now you're looking at patterns, relationships, and thinking about why does the median age change? Now we don't have time for this next activity, but what if you said, oh, now I want to add median income and I want to compare median age to median income. So as people get older, are they getting poorer, or do they have does their income go up as they get older? Hopefully it goes up a little bit, right? It would be really depressing if the older you got, the poorer you got. But look at the relationship between median age and median income. Yep, you can use the add button again. So the idea here, this last few minutes was, okay, you started with a map and you're adding content to it on topics that you're interested in investigating. So this is not like, you know, bumper cars at an amusement park. Or am I dating myself? Remember bumper cars? You can only go in certain places, right? That you can't go outside the track. Here, you can go anywhere. And you can look at any theme, any scale. So really, you've got a lot of capability at your fingertips here, folks. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging in there and doing that. I'm just trying to plant some seeds that get you thinking about, wow, this is quite powerful here. And indeed it is. You ready for one more activity, folks?
These guys are still mapping, Dr. K.
That's what we love. It's like, it's so engaging, right? It's like you're looking at, wow, this is incredible.
I think you may want to move on because
I hate to tear people away from that median age and the oh my gosh, the other layers that are in there and the World Hydro. It's just so fascinating.
Right.
But we could do one more short activity and then you guys can have a break.
Yeah, okay. Keep going. That's fine.
Are people going to get upset if we tear them away from the current activity?
No. I think these are a happy group. So.
Oh, you folks are great.
Let's move on. Yes.
Okay, muy bien. So folks, you know how to do this, and so after the workshop, this might be something you come back to in a couple of days. Say, hey, I want to look at that hydrography a little bit more, or the survey results, or the median age versus median income. All of those things that you're loving investigating right now, you can come back to. So we hate to tear you away, but literally we could spend the whole rest of the day on these wonderful data layers right here and all the questions that you're asking. And that's exactly what I've observed with students, and maybe some of your colleagues there in the room can relate. It's like the students get into this zone where they're kind of driving some of the inquiry at certain moments, and that for you is a golden moment as an educator, right? Because you're not instructing them, they're investigating, they're asking questions, and you know what I mean? They're so focused. And that's exactly what you folks are doing. You're modeling that right here. All right, well, there is one more short activity that we'd like to get into, unless there's some questions. And that short activity is in number 11. This practical exercise number 6. Let's look at historical settlement patterns with this one web mapping application. Okay, so this is the USGS historical topographic maps. This is number 11 in your agenda for today. So open up the syllabus agenda for today and go down to number 11. Should be on the bottom of that page. And let's do a historical investigation of the US-Mexico border region. Okay? So once you pull that up, it's going to be a web mapping application using the same platform that you've been using. But in this case, there's only going to be one layer in it, as opposed to the numerous layers that you just looked at. The one layer is the historical topographic maps. Now, as you know, I used to work at the USGS, and it's a treasure. It really is, because you've got 110 years of historical maps all in this one interface. So if you go ahead and scroll down to number 11 and click on that link, you will pull up exactly what I've got here. The default in this particular web mapping application is, as you can see, New Orleans. But we don't want New Orleans, right? We want to find in that interface. We want to go to El Paso or Las Cruces or Juarez, etc. So in the search box, go ahead and search for the place of interest that you want to investigate.
Dr. K?
Yes.
Just a little comment here. Yeah, so, folks, some of you on number 11 by thanks. Okay, Dr. K, that's you.
Yep. So when you pull that up, go ahead and search for El Paso. Or you can zoom and pan to it, right? There's no right or wrong here. You can go ahead and zoom and pan. And but I'd like to just search for El Paso or Las Cruces or Juarez or, et cetera. Realizing that these are USGS topo maps, so we're actually going to be just looking on the USA side of the border at the moment, but realize there's a lot of content in different parts of the world. So I'm going to zoom into your part of the world, and I'm going to click in there, because what that's going to give me is this little timeline right underneath where I clicked on the map. And folks, what you have here is again, 120 years or so of historical topo maps. And as you investigate, you're going to see maps at different scales. And I really want to have the most detailed, the 1 to 24,000 scale. So I've got, for example, a topographic map called Smeltertown from 1955. Now ask the students, okay, were their grandparents alive in 1955? What was happening in 1955? So look at the changes between 1955 and now in your part of the world. It's really pretty interesting. So once you've got a map pulled up, as I do right here, you've got a little slider bar that's a transparency tool. So right now, if I slide that bar to the left or the right, I see the current topographic base map with I-10, etc. But in 1955, there was no I-10, right? There was the U.S. highway that's now Donovan Drive, that one, just to the north and the east of your school. And Country Club Road is there, going out to Santa Teresa. But it was mostly farmland, right? There wasn't really urban area built up in there. So that whole where Lincoln Middle School is, that wasn't even there. It was a field with an irrigation ditch running through it. So I think this tool right here is wonderful to have the students thinking about change over time. I really do. Why has your community changed? How has it changed? What's it going to be like in the future, etc. So as you keep investigating, now I've got a 1996 map on top of the 1955 map, and I'm going to compare it to 2018. So even in 1996, there were some significant changes from what you've got currently. Now, since you folks have a unique experience of you're right at the edge of two different topographic map sheets, so you might actually have to pull up the one to the west so you'll see the area right around where you are sitting right now.
Don't be afraid to explore, right?
Right. It looks like it's the Strauss, New Mexico 1955 map is going to have the area to the west. And then you've got a 1996 there as well. Oh my gosh, this is just so incredible.
Oh, how is the exploration, guys?
Yes, Dr. K.
Sir.
Yeah, I think, these guys have been exploring a bit. Let's see. Was this your first exercise before the break?
Yes, because they've been so wonderful at just starting to explore.
Right. Okay.
That's good. That's good.
But there's so many changes in your area. It's just astounding.
Yeah, and it's also a fast-growing area.
Yeah, exactly like us here up here in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yep, fast-growing, lots of changes. And I just wanted to plant this seed for you all, folks. Let's say you use the same historical topographic mapping tool for looking at other changes around the landscape. So it doesn't have to be urban growth, which is what we're focusing on here, but what if it's construction of a reservoir? What if it's a new pipeline or a new power line or something like that that changed the landscape in some way? So you can use the same tool to look at other kinds of changes. What if you looked at the coastline where we've filled in things like in San Francisco or New Orleans or other places along the coast where we've actually dumped a bunch of dirt and rocks and actually built out into the water. So you can determine that sort of thing with these historical topo maps as well. So you're looking at change over space and time is the basic idea. And it's all in the same mapping platform. It's ArcGIS Online. So let's say you've got a map and you've collected data like in Survey 123 of tree species, and then you want to put a map from 50 years ago in that same map where you've got your survey for your trees or your litter or your traffic counts or your water quality or whatever you're collecting. You can add it, just like we've done here. You can add a historical topo map and say, okay, what did this area look like? Like even right around your school building that you're in right now, a lot of those trees were planted, right? They weren't actually there 100 years ago or 50 years ago. So take a look at the historical topo map as a base. So I just wanted to plant that seed there too.
They come to this
Oh
because
my
we only
goodness.
get 30 minutes at work.
Okay.
Enjoy it.
All right. I think our we're getting